They followed the mudmen down winding trails across the dark surface of the underlake. The shadows were so deep the children could no longer see where they were going, when at last Willem came to a stop and announced, "No place like home, eh?" No place indeed. There were no signs of any shelter of any kind, but for a wisp of smoke rising from a small hole in the ground. "Follow me, little skinnies. Mind the steps." And Willem walked straight down into the ground. Kestrel, following behind, found that her feet went through the mud into a sudden hole onto a staircase. "Mouth shut," said Willem. "Eyes shut." One moment Kestrel's mouth and nose and eyes were smothered with mud. The next moment she had stepped down into a smoky, firelit underground room. Bowman followed, then Mumpo. Above them, at the top of the staircase, the mud had resealed itself like a lid. "Well, Willem," said a cross voice, "a pretty time you've been." "Ah, but look'ee, Jum, my love, skinnies." Willem stood aside to display the children. A round, mud-coated woman sat on a stool by the fire, stirring a pot and scowling. She lumbered over, patted them with her muddy hand, and stroked their trembling cheeks. "Poor little mites." Then she turned to Willem and said sharply, "Teeth?" Obediently, Willem bared his teeth. They were stained a yellowy brown. "Dixie, I knew it, and harvest tomorrow for shame, Willem." "Mud nuts, Jum," he said placatingly, untying long nut socks. Jum stumped back to the fire, refusing to acknowledge the fruit of his labours. "Don't you sugar me, you and your Tixie." The children stared at the room in which they now found themselves. It was a big, round burrow, with a dome-shaped roof, at the top of which the smoke of the fire escaped through a hole. The fire was on a platform of stone, and round it was a cage of iron rods that allowed pots and kettles to be suspended over the fire on all sides at various levels. A large stew pot was popping and spitting. Beside the fire there was a wooden bench on which sat Willem's family, all as round and mud-covered as each other. They were a child, an aunt, and a grandfather. All were staring curiously at the newcomers, except for the grandfather, who kept looking at Willem and winking. The floor of the burrow was covered with a litter of soft rugs, thrown one on top of the other, like a huge unmade bed. "Pollum," said Jum, stirring the stew. "More bowls?" The mud child jumped up and ran to a wall cupboard. "Good day, then, Willem," said the old man, winking. "Good enough," said Willem, winking back. "You'll not be wanting your supper, then," said Jum, banging the stew-pot. "You'll be in the land of Tixie." Willem went right up close behind her and put both his arms around her. "Who loves his sweet Jum?" he said. "Jum, Jum, my heart does hum." All right, she let him kiss her neck. "That's the way," said Willem, and he went and sat down by the old man and fell to whispering with him. Pollum put bowls on a table, and Jum filled the bowls with thick, hot stew. "Sit-ye down, skinnies," she said, her voice more kindly now. So Bowman and Kestrel and Mumpo sat down and looked at a stew that looked so exactly like lumpy mud, they hesitated to eat it. "Mud-nut stew," said Jum encouragingly. It was surprisingly good, like smoky potato. Soon all three were spooning it up. Jum watched with pleasure. Pollum twined herself round her mother's stout legs. "What are they, Mum?" "They'm skinnies. They live up yonder, poor little things." "Why are they here?" "They'm escaped. They'm run away." As they ate, the children's spirits revived, but as soon as Mumpo finished, he lay down and went to sleep. "That's the way, little skinny," said Jum, pulling a rug over him. She made nests for Bowman and Kestrel among the piles of rugs, and they curled up as Mumpo had done. The flame shadows flickering on the ceiling softened into a warm blur, and a moment later they were fast asleep.